Breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
From rescue to recovery now, the mid-air crash in D.C., the brand new information we are getting from the National Transportation Safety Board as their news conference continues.
And as the operation moves to its next phase after that collision in D.C., the NTSB is stepping in to figure out what happened. We'll tell you about the new details we just learned during a press conference.
And we're feeling the ripple effect of that mid-air collision close to home. You're looking live at RDU, where several flights are canceled this morning. Kelsey Coffey is there. She'll have an update for us coming up. Thank you for joining us here on this very somber morning. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
I'm Chris Lovingood. And yeah, they mentioned that the airport there, the Reagan International Airport, will open at 11 o'clock this morning. So we could see some improvement on our local flights. We'll get into that in just a second. We do want to start off with our weather forecast with Elizabeth Gardner. She is tracking pretty clear skies in North Hills.
It's clear out there. We had a weak front come through last night without any precipitation, but it has delivered some slightly colder air to us for today. We do have a few high thin clouds here this morning in North Hills, and we just dropped to 37 degrees. Yesterday was breezy. Our wind will be a little bit lighter, which should help our fire situation. We had at least one fire in our viewing area and several in the mountains. Right now it is 30 in South Hill, 32 in Rocky Mount, 36 in Southern Pines, 34 in Clinton. We're mostly in the low to mid 30s and then some upper 30s right now around the Triangle area. Hour by hour, we're still still looking at a mild afternoon. Temperatures will be in the mid 60s. We will see increasing clouds, and we'll have the potential for a little bit of light patchy rain during the evening. Watch how we go to say 10 to 20% during the evening commute. Overnight, it jumps up to around 30%, and it could be lingering into the morning commute, at least the very early hours. Then we're dry for much of the day, and then our cold front comes through during the evening. That's when the rain would be heaviest, and we could see our first thunderstorms of the year. Ken?
All right, happening now in the WRAL traffic center. Traffic is definitely picked up on all of our major routes this morning. I do want to bring your attention to this incident. It's a crash on I-40 eastbound near the entrance ramp there in Cary. We're not seeing any major delays in the area, but we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown on the Beltline in that area, the southwest portion of the Beltline this morning. The northern loop of the Beltline as well as the southern loop of the Beltline, we're seeing traffic picking up. You're looking at a 3 to 5 minute delay as you look live at I-40 and Carytown Boulevard, those congested westbound lanes coming toward us this morning. Looking at other major routes coming into the capital city, you're looking at a 10-minute delay if you're coming to the capital city from Durham. Of course, the troubled spot, Wake Forest, 13-minute delay coming in on US 1. In Durham, most of the major routes are delay free this morning, but we're just looking at the situation on I-885. That's usually the busy portion of the Durham commute this morning. You're looking, if you're heading into Durham, you're looking at a 7-minute delay. If you're leaving Durham, you're looking at just a 9-minute delay. So keep that in mind as you're about to head out this morning. And if you're about to head out, tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3. You can listen to us anywhere in the Triangle.
Thanks, Ken. Breaking news in the last 20 minutes. We've learned officials do not believe there are any survivors after an American Airlines plane and an Army Black Hawk helicopter collided. This is the moment that those aircrafts collided. You can see it in this video here. Near D.C.'s Reagan National Airport. 28 bodies have been recovered from the Potomac River, 27 from the plane, and 1 from the helicopter. Crews have now switched to a recovery operation after working on rescues through the night. And this now is a live look in D.C. You can see the boats in the water there. The search is underway this morning. More than 300 first responders are part of that effort. But during a briefing in the last half hour, officials confirmed both aircrafts were following standard patterns. There does not appear to have been anything unusual that contributed to this crash. Jeff Hogan is monitoring all of the latest developments in the live center. Jeff.
Yeah, Michelle, thanks. And I'll continue with this look here because it's important to note we've been talking about how cold the water temperature has been. We got a little more information in the last half hour about the actual recovery effort, which it has now switched to. And as we speak, you can see them on the water right there. The water is not that deep, waist deep in some areas. We've seen some exposed parts of aircraft. 8 feet, up to 8 feet is what others had described it. But also the Potomac is flowing. You know, we see the ice moving by in some of these shots here, but this debris field, if you will, has been spread out a little bit. It's less than a mile long, which investigators on hand say makes it not a very big debris field by their consideration. Other than that, though, the plane split into 3 different parts. It was inverted. Some of the sections that they found, the helicopter was upside down when they found it. 27 people recovered off the plane, 1 person from the helicopter as they continue right there. And an eerie report I was hearing this morning from one reporter who was there last night. There were no ambulances, not the sound of ambulances coming to that area, and no ambulances leaving that area. It just speaks to the violent nature and the deadly nature of this crash.
Well, it's just tragic all around, Jeff. And Reagan Airport will be closed until at least 11 this morning, and that is actually affecting flights all across the country, including here locally. Let's go to WRAL's Kelsey Coffey. She joins us live from RDU. Kelsey, we know again that the airport over in Washington is going to open back at 11, but right now there are cancellations still in effect.
Yes, Chris, there are 11 cancellations total here at RDU, and we know that 9 of them are either to or from Reagan National Airport. All of that is according to FlightAware. So we'll give you a live look now at the flight board here. It's normal for the flight board to lag behind a little bit as far as showing you cancellations and delays here. But again, 9 flights either to or from Reagan National Airport have been canceled. We also checked the airport in Charlotte, as a lot of folks flying in and out of RDU may have connecting flights there, and 9 flights there as well. 9 flights canceled from Reagan National Airport. We expect that these cancellations will have a large impact on air travel nationwide throughout the day. As we've mentioned earlier, Reagan National Airport officials say they are grounding all of their flights at least until 11 o'clock this morning. So we'll be sure to stay on top of any cancellations or delays that could impact people's travel plans here at RDU. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live at RDU.
And in addition to that, we are hearing from loved ones of some people who were on the plane. One man received a message from his wife minutes before the plane crashed over the Potomac River.
She texted me that they were landing in 20 minutes. I'm just praying that somebody's pulling her out of the river right now as we speak. That's all I can pray for. I'm just praying to God.
And that plane collided with a helicopter while landing at Reagan Airport near Washington, D.C. We know 60 passengers were aboard, as well as 4 crew members. Army officials say 3 soldiers were aboard the helicopter.
And the CEO of American Airlines is in Washington as the investigation into that crash is underway. Robert Isom released a video statement late last night.
I'd like to express our deep sorrow about these events. This is a difficult day for all of us at American Airlines, and our efforts now are focused entirely on the needs of our passengers, crew members, partners, first responders, along with their families and loved ones.
Isom said American Airlines will have a team working around the clock to support the families of the people who were on board that plane.
President Donald Trump says the crash should have been prevented. After midnight, he posted to Truth Social saying, quote, "The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn?" Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the Pentagon and Army have launched an investigation into this. And we are staying on top of this story all day, on TV and online. Just download the WRAL News app, turn on your notifications so you get push alerts straight to your phone. It is free to download.
Well, breaking news in Orange County this morning, where I-85 is back open after an early morning crash near Chapel Hill. This was the scene from the WRAL breaking news tracker around 2:30 this morning. The right lane of I-85 was closed for several hours after a truck driver fell asleep at the wheel. Nobody was hurt. You can see damage to the front of that vehicle, though. The lane opened back up at about 4:30 this morning.
A man is recovering after being shot in Durham. Durham police say they were called to Naples Place shortly after 10 p.m. last night, and that's where they found a man who was shot. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to recover. This investigation is still being investigated at this moment, and anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. This morning, 3 more Israeli hostages being held by Hamas are being released. 2 women, ages 19 and 29, will be released. An 80-year-old man was also released, expected to be, I should say. The Israeli government says Hamas is also expected to release 5 Thai citizens it has been holding hostage. And Hamas says Israel is also expected to release 110 Palestinian prisoners, and this includes 30 children. Your time is 8:09. New purpose for Guantanamo Bay. President Trump plans to house tens of thousands at the detention center. This morning, hear about the executive order he is crafting during the immigration crackdown.
And new troubles for western North Carolina. A downed tree sparks a dangerous wildfire. The latest on evacuations and containment of the burn. Anthony?
And Michelle, as we get a check on temperatures this morning, it is a cold start. We're at 37 right now around the Triangle in Raleigh and Durham. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner, though, is on the weather patio, is going to talk about a big-time warm-up on the way. Who could see near record-breaking temperatures?
Getting you a live look outside in Cary, specifically downtown Cary Park, on a pretty beautiful morning as you're waking up with clear skies here. Watching WRAL News, available on Hulu and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. And folks, to be clear, we are not done with our coverage of that situation, that tragic helicopter plane crash that happened in D.C. But we do want to make sure that we inform you on your weather forecast. That's why we have meteorologist Anthony Baglione here right now to give you a start on your day.
Yeah, just such an awful situation there. We're going to continue to monitor that. We get us started, though, here with our weather at home. You head outside. We do have a lot of sunshine out there. Just a few clouds filling in. There's our North Hills camera, though. You can see off in the distance some of those clouds. But all in all, it's going to be a chilly start for you as you're headed out here through the next couple of hours. Looking ahead, though, I got to say into tomorrow, it's going to be some incredible warmth compared to where we have been, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. We're at 32 currently in Roxborough, 37 in Raleigh and Durham, 36 in Fayetteville, also 36 there in Southern Pines. As you're headed out this morning, what I'd recommend is to have the winter coat, dress in some layers, and then you should be able to shed those a little bit later on through this afternoon. Look at where we're headed, though. I'm just going to let you soak that up a little bit if you don't like the cold weather. We're at 75 degrees tomorrow. We have a little bit of time before we get there. Today, we're still in the low 60s. 75, our record is 77. That was set back in 1950. I don't think we will quite break that, but still we're going to get pretty close to it. Fayetteville at 78. I do think we will likely tie that record that was set back in 2002. Rain chances start to go up tomorrow, and we may even see just a stray spotty shower as we get late tonight. Only about 20% chance, though, early tomorrow morning. There will be a nice break through the middle part of our Friday, but then by the time we get to those evening plans, if you're headed out for dinner tomorrow night, if you need to take the dogs out, I would get that done a little bit earlier if you can, because we start to see that going up to about a 90% chance at 8 o'clock. We've been talking, of course, about the unfortunate news coming out of Washington there with this plane crash. Here's just a brief look as far as the weather's concerned. We always, go back, kind of look and see what the weather potentially was playing a factor in. Temperatures at the time of this, right around 9 o'clock, were at 49. Winds were a little bit gusty at about 26 miles an hour, but skies were clear. So at this point, doesn't look like our wind speeds were going to be a factor. 75 on Friday. We are not looking at weather alert days. That's an update for you on Saturday, Sunday. 73, though, by the time we get into our Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
All right, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We want to, all right, Anthony, a few incidents dotting our traffic map this morning, but not really causing any major issues, except for this one here on the entrance ramp on I-40 eastbound. We're seeing a little bit of a slowdown, but you can see all around the Beltline, we're seeing congestion building. And this is a live look at I-40 and Rock Quarry Road. You see the bumper traffic, those westbound lanes moving away from us this morning. In terms of the other major routes heading into the capital city, the real troubled spot, Wake Forest. Friends of Wake Forest, you're looking at a 10-minute delay coming in on US 1. Over in the Bull City, the major routes we're talking about, 85. If you're coming in from Hillsborough this morning, you're looking at an 18-minute delay on I-85. So give yourself some extra time, particularly if you're about to leave the house and it just jumped to 26 minutes. So keep that in mind. The other busy route in Durham is, of course, is I-885 in and out of Durham. If you're heading into Durham this morning, you're looking at a 9-minute delay. If you're leaving Durham, you're just looking at a 4-minute delay. Of course, traffic is constantly changing. Tune us in on the radio if you're getting ready to head into the car. 101.5 HD3. You can listen to us anywhere in the Triangle.
Thank you, Ken. Let's get back to that breaking news in Washington, D.C. A massive search and recovery operation is now, again, a recovery operation now, as a Black Hawk helicopter collided with an American Airlines flight. What you're seeing right now is a live look at the Potomac River. That's right near the Reagan Washington National Airport, where first responders have been searching all morning. Divers are battling pieces of ice, darkness, and freezing waters as they are doing this, and we now know at least 28 bodies have been recovered from the river.
And we are hearing from a man who knew 2 of the passengers on board that plane that crashed. They are his daughter's best friend and her mom. The man says the 2 were on an athletic trip and the girl is an ice skater. We've learned that U.S. figure skaters, their coaches and family members were members on board.
I haven't heard much. I got off work and I came straight here to be with my friends. So a time of great distress.
Yeah, thank you.
Right now, U.S. figure skating has not provided details about who from the skating community or how many were on that flight.
Kansas Senator Jerry Moran says Wichita is a tight-knit community, and this situation is hitting hard for a lot of people.
In Kansas and in Wichita in particular, we're going to know people who are on this flight, know their family members, know somebody. So this is a very personal circumstance as well as an official response.
The city of Wichita plans to hold a prayer vigil at noon today.
Well, this is the first commercial air crash in the U.S. in nearly 16 years. 49 people died when a Colgan air flight crashed near Buffalo in February of 2009. This is video from then. The NTSB investigation into that crash found the captain and first officer were both fatigued, and they did not properly respond to a stall warning.
Michelle, gusty winds and very dry conditions have been leading to an increased fire risk across our state. This is something we have watched very carefully here at WRAL. In fact, meteorologist Anthony Baglione has been watching closely as well. You have an update, Anthony, on the current, active fires in western North Carolina.
It's just been awful to watch here out of the western parts of our state. Of course, an area that's already gone through so much here the past year or so. Here's a look. You can see all of that smoke in the distance. We've been watching several wildfires. Of course, the skies are clear, but just with all of this kind of dry brush activity, it's making for a scene like you see right there. Let's take a look, though, at the active wildfires that the Forest Service here is monitoring as far as no containment quite yet, not 100% containment. There's 3 that we're watching at the moment. These ones, though, closer to Asheville, Woodlawn there, 40 acres. That is 0% contained currently. And then the one south of Old Fort, 250 acres, 15% containment. We need some rain. We need some lighter winds to kind of monitor those conditions. Look at how dry it is across the western parts of the state. Kind of a combo between abnormally dry and moderate drought. Severe drought, though, for eastern North Carolina. The good thing, though, for those firefighters out there, wind speeds have come down. This is a snapshot as we get into tomorrow evening. They do have some much needed rainfall on the way that will help those fire conditions.
All right, that's good news. Thanks, Anthony. President Donald Trump is doubling down on his efforts to remove people in the U.S. illegally. Trump signed a memo yesterday directing tens of thousands of people to be detained in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Here's Ted Linder.
It's a tough place to get out of.
President Donald Trump bolstering his efforts to crack down on illegal immigration, directing the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to ready a 30,000-person migrant facility at the U.S. Naval Base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back, so we're going to send them out to Guantanamo.
The president's announcement happening right before he signed the Lake and Riley Act Wednesday, a bipartisan bill requiring undocumented migrants charged with certain crimes to be detained.
You will be held accountable for breaking our laws.
According to Tom Homan, the Trump administration's border czar, migrants will most likely be flown straight to the detention center at Guantanamo Bay, adding the facility will be overseen by immigrations and customs enforcement officers.
What you probably don't know, there's already a migrant center there. It's been there for decades. So we're just going to expand upon the existing migrant center.
Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem says the worst of the worst will be housed there.
The White House is working on to use resources that we currently have there at Guantanamo Bay. So we'll go through the process.
Cuba's president slammed President Trump's decision, calling it, quote, an act of brutality. Meanwhile, a report last year from the nonprofit International Refugee Assistance Project said migrants are held in, quote, prison-like conditions.
That was Ted Linder reporting. A California jury will now hear the case against rapper A$AP Rocky. The trial began yesterday. Rocky, whose real name is Rakeem Myers, is accused of firing a gun at a former friend in 2021. That friend, A$AP Rocky, took the stand yesterday. Singer Rihanna was also at the trial, sitting out of view of courtroom cameras. She shares 2 children with Myers. Now, if convicted, he faces a sentence of up to 24 years in prison.
Farmers in the South are picking what crops they can after the historic snowstorm that blanketed the South earlier this month. Some strawberry farms in Louisiana reported losing as much as 80% of their harvest. Crops severely damaged and frost burned from the storm. Farmers hope the next batch will be healthy and ready for harvest later in the spring.
Months after a cyber attack, the town of Apex is still working through issues. The hack last summer affected the town's utility billing process, and well, that caused some residents to receive double bills. Officials say all residents should be getting accurate bills at this point, but just this week, the town brought in an outside company to review its systems. That company will run simulated bills for all 30,000 residents to check for any lingering issues.
Dead after going to the dentist.
You can't ever foresee that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm still shocked.
Tonight at 6, WRAL investigates multiple deaths in our state linked to dental anesthesia, the ongoing push to put more safeguards in place, and why a dentist deemed responsible may be able to practice again soon.
Your time is 8:23 this morning. Recovery efforts on the Potomac River, where you are looking live this morning. Jeff Hogan will join us in the WRAL Live Center soon with new security footage of the collision from Reagan Airport.
And the future of the Lenovo Center, the update we'll receive today about the entertainment district coming to the arena.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning and happy Thursday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. We are in for another mild day. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio. A little chilly still right now, though, Elizabeth.
Cold start like we saw yesterday, but the sun is up and looking pretty here in North Hills. Notice a little bit of high, thin cloud cover. That will increase as we get through the day as our next front starts to approach us. 37 degrees in the Triangle. We're looking at freezing temperatures in some places, so it looks pretty out here, but it is definitely chilly. 32 in Roxborough, as well as Rocky Mount, 36 in Southern Pines and Fayetteville, 35 in Clinton. It's a little colder than it was yesterday because we had a dry front that came through yesterday. Still going to be on the mild side this afternoon. Highs will be in the mid-60s. We'll see increasing clouds around 5 or 6 p.m. We may see just a few light showers.
Happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. Give you a live look right now at I-40 and Rock Quarry Road. The westbound lanes moving away from us. Bumper-to-bumper traffic out there. In terms of the other major routes heading into the capital city, you're coming in from Durham. You're looking at an 8-minute delay. The other troubled spot coming in from Wake Forest on US 1, you're looking at a 10-minute delay. Over in the Bull City, you're looking at a 7-minute delay going into Durham this morning. But the other troubled spot, I-40 eastbound, you're coming in from Chapel Hill. Give yourself some extra time.
Thanks, Ken. Reagan-Washington National Airport is currently closed after that mid-air collision between a passenger plane and an Army helicopter. This is affecting airports across the country, including at RDU. Right now, there are 11 cancellations at RDU, most of them to or from Reagan National. Next on Fox 50, the update on Helene recovery in Western North Carolina we're expecting today. And up next on Today, Knicks player Jalen Brunson, live in Studio 1A.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Brand new security camera video from Reagan National Airport of the mid-air collision, and an expert weighs in on what he thinks may have happened.
The water is dark, it is murky, and that is a very tough condition for them to dive in.
Through the night, crews searched for survivors in that frigid water. We have the latest on the transition to recovery efforts this morning.
And that mid-air collision, Michelle, is impacting air travel across the country. Right now, you're looking at a live image at RDU, the flight board there, where flights are canceled as Reagan National is closed this morning. It will be reopened in several hours, so we'll be monitoring that, of course, here on WRAL News. We just want to first say welcome and join us here on Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Jeff Hogan is in the live center. We'll get to him coming up. But first, we have to start with Elizabeth Gardner on the WRAL weather patio. She's going to tell us all about our forecast for today. We're going to be mild, but not as mild as we were yesterday.
We had a cold front come through yesterday. You may not have noticed it. It was a dry front. It didn't bring any clouds or precipitation, but it did drop our temperatures this morning. We're low to mid 30s right now stepping out the door. So coat feels good. This is a live look at Durham, and you can see some cloud cover. The clouds will increase as we get through the day today as a warm front approaches us. 37 is our temperature heading out the door in the Triangle. Our winds are calm. Yesterday was really breezy out here on the patio at noon. The winds will be a little lighter, which should help our fire situation. We had a fire in Franklin County and a number of fires fires back into the mountains yesterday. It's 32 in Roxborough, 32 Rocky Mount, 36 in Southern Pine. So again, we're at freezing or mid 30s as you're stepping out the door. It'll be a milder afternoon though. Temperatures will climb into the mid 60s. We will see clouds increasing. We do have the potential for a few isolated, just light patchy showers that'll start around 5 or 6 o'clock this evening. That chance continues to go up as a warm front crosses our area overnight. That means the beginning of the commute tomorrow morning may be just a little wet from the Triangle area northward. And then after that, we're going to see the potential for some thunderstorms for the first time this season. Of course, that could happen during the evening on Friday. We'll walk through the timeline coming up.
At 8:32, we have just a handful of incidents dotting our live traffic sensors this morning, but none really affecting your commute as we isolate the Beltline. You can see traffic congestion building on the southern loop of the Beltline as well as the northern loop of the Beltline. Let's take you outside and show you what I'm talking about on that southern loop. This is I-40 and Rock Quarry Road. You can see the bumper-to-bumper traffic in those westbound lanes moving away from us this morning, so keep that in mind as you're about to head out. All the other major routes coming into the capital city this morning, you got in Wake Forest, a 9-minute delay on US 1 and just about a 5-minute delay for our good friends in Nightdale coming into the capital city. In Durham, I-885, usually a busy spot. Usually, if you're going into Durham this morning, you're looking at an 11-minute delay and just about a 3-minute or a couple of minutes delay if you're coming out. The other major routes coming into Durham this morning, just from Chapel Hill, you're looking at a 5-minute delay. And our good friends over here on Highway 98, you have about a 7-minute delay. Now, here's another thing. Many of you use I-540 as an alternate route. If you do, prepare for a 12-minute delay if you take that loop. And depending on where you're getting off and getting on, those times will be adjusted. Of course, traffic is always constantly changing. You can listen to us on the radio, 99.3 FM in Raleigh, 96.5 FM in Durham, and 101.5 HD3 all over in the Triangle.
In the past 40 minutes, we received a breaking update from investigators in Washington, D.C., where an American Airlines passenger plane collided with an Army Black Hawk chopper, as you see in this video right here, the moment those two aircraft hit near Reagan National Airport. Now, in a briefing, again, about 40 minutes ago, officials confirmed they do not believe there are any survivors in this. Now, one of the things that we have been watching closely is the recovery that is now in place, as 28 bodies have been recovered, 27 from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. So here's what else we know so far. A total of 64 people that plane could actually carry, and 3 people were aboard the chopper. Among the victims are several members of the U.S. figure skating team. 2 Russian world champion figure skaters were also aboard the plane, and about 300 first responders are searching the freezing river. The plane was traveling from Wichita, Kansas, before it arrived there. Meanwhile, we're also here in the news studio having Jeff Hogan look at the WRAL Live Center to look at new security video that just released. Show us that video, Jeff.
Yeah, and I will, Chris, in just one second. But first, that video you showed just a second ago with the plane taking off high in the sky, and right on low on the horizon is where the collision happened. There is an expert who has flown in and out of that. This is a captain, a pilot who has flown in and out of that airport many times and said that it's possible when the helicopter gave the affirmative that it saw the plane when asked by air traffic control, that maybe it was referring to the one that was high in the sky and not the one that was right at that level. This is Reagan International Airport, and I want to show you this video just into the WRAL Live Center, a brand new, different angle where you see that helicopter coming from the left and striking that airplane. This was on final approach. You see the headlights of the plane coming straight towards the airport. It's at night. It has been asked to switch runways, which it has done and is coming in. So this pilot in this interview was saying that there are bright lights all around the D.C. metropolitan area. There are bright lights at the airport. It is hard to see sometimes what is going on, and you're focusing on landing on that final approach. And one other thought from this pilot saying that the training flight of the helicopter, he's not sure whether or not they were wearing night vision goggles at the time. So this will all come out in the NTSB's investigation.
Oh, seeing that video, Jeff, we're all in shock. That's just absolutely devastating. All right, thanks, Jeff. Reagan Washington National Airport is currently closed, and that's affecting airports across the country, including RDU. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from the airport. Kelsey, at last check, I know you were saying there are 11 cancellations. Is that still the number, or has it gone down?
Michelle, that's still the number that we're seeing right now, according to FlightAware. But we do know that 9 out of those 11 cancellations here at RDU this morning are either flights that are coming in from Reagan National Airport or out. So we'll show you a live look now at the flight board. You may even be able to see underneath those 3 cancellations that one flight from Reagan National Airport is on time. That flight is scheduled to come in at about 3:30 this afternoon. We know that Reagan National Airport officials say that they will be grounding all of their flights until at least 11 a.m. So that means that that's a flight that, of course, will be taking off after that 11 o'clock time frame. We also checked in with the airport in Charlotte, as a lot of folks flying through RDU may have connecting flights there. 9 flights to and from Reagan National are canceled at that airport as well. So we'll be sure to stay on top of any cancellations or delays that may be a result of this crash, and if it could impact any folks that are traveling here through RDU. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live at RDU.
And DC's fire chief said the conditions first responders are trying to work through right now, difficult.
The conditions out there are extremely rough for the responders. It's cold. They're dealing with relatively windy conditions. Wind is hard out on the river.
The water they're searching in is about 8 feet deep, and the water temperature is only about 35 degrees, Michelle.
It's just shocking, Chris. We are staying on top of this story all day long on TV and online. Download the WRAL News app to get push alerts straight to your phone. It is free to download.
We do have some breaking news here locally in Orange County, where I-85 is back open after an early morning crash near Chapel Hill. What you're seeing here behind me was the scene from the WRAL breaking news tracker around 2:30 this morning. The right lane of I-85 was closed for several hours after a truck driver fell asleep at the wheel, according to investigators. Now, no one was injured, and you can see damage to the front end of the vehicle. That lane opened back up around 4:30 this morning.
A man is recovering after being shot in Durham. Durham police say they were called to Naples Place shortly after 10 p.m. last night. That's where they found a man who had been shot. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to recover. The incident is under investigation, and anyone with any information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers. And a man was taken to the hospital after being shot in Raleigh. It happened at an apartment complex near the intersection of Poole Road and Raleigh Boulevard just after 7:30 last night. The man shot has non-life-threatening injuries. Police say there are no suspects in custody, and the shooting remains under investigation.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will face questions from senators again today for a second day of confirmation hearings on his nomination for Health and Human Services Secretary. Today's hearing will start this morning at 9, and Kennedy faced tough questions yesterday about his past statements opposing vaccines. Kennedy told the panel right from the top that he was not anti-vaccine.
Senator, I support the measles vaccine. I support the polio vaccine. I will do nothing as HHS Secretary that makes it difficult or discourages people from taking either of those
Anybody
vaccines.
who believes that ought to look at the measles book you wrote. That's not true.
Kennedy says if he is confirmed, his mission will be to reduce chronic disease, which he calls a crisis.
Today, we're expecting to get an update on plans to add an entertainment district and mixed-use development around the Lenovo Center. Raleigh City Council will address the rezoning plans during a special meeting today. The 27-acre entertainment district around the arena is expected to include a music venue, hotel, and other buildings. A 12-acre mixed-use development along Edwards Mill Road could include buildings up to 40 stories high. City Council will meet at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
This morning, the head of the state government office in charge of hurricane recovery will address state lawmakers. A legislative oversight committee will hear testimony from the head of Rebuild NC under former Governor Roy Cooper. They will also hear from Governor Josh Stein's top advisors for Helene relief effort. This will be the second day in a row of Helene-related meetings.
Important funding put on hold. Federal support could soon be cut. The impact the loss of money could have on health outcomes.
Plus, you may want to check your freezer. We have a chicken nugget recall to tell you about, and a concern you'll want to know about this Wegmans product.
And we have rain chances in the forecast. You're looking live at a beautiful blue sky over Pinehurst. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner explains when it will arrive, along with temperatures in the 70s. Welcome back as we take a beautiful look over Southern Pines this morning. Gorgeous blue skies. Temperature is going to warm up nicely. I think you'll find a couple of golfers out there today. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner on the WRAL weather patio. They better get out there early, though, because we are expecting a little bit of rain later today.
It looks like it would be, maybe around the time of the evening commute. It should be a fairly pleasant day. It won't be as warm as yesterday. We hit 72. We'll bring it back down into the mid-60s because of a front that came through yesterday. Take a live look at Fayetteville. You can see just a little bit of high, thin cloud cover, but generally it's really pretty out across our area. Our temperatures are definitely on the cool side for this morning, and those temperatures, of course, will continue to warm up over the next day or two as our warm front moves through. Let's take a look at our temperatures heading out right now. 37 degrees. Our dew point is 26. It will not be as windy as it was yesterday. We did have high fire danger yesterday, and the winds should be closer to 10 to 15 instead of 25 to 30 like we saw yesterday. It's a cold start out there. 30s everywhere here at around 8:45. 36 in Southern Pines, 38 in Goldsboro. It's 32 right now in Rocky Mount, and Wilson 34 up in Roxborough. Around town, we'll warm into the mid-60s this afternoon, 64 in Raleigh and Durham, 66 degrees in Fayetteville. Hour-by-hour wind gusts. Again, it's going to be a little breezy, but not as much as yesterday. We did have a fire in Franklin County yesterday and some fires in the mountains, and we're going to see a lesser chance of that today. It is still dry, and it will still be a little breezy, but it wouldn't be as bad as yesterday. Mid-60s for our high temperature today. We won't be quite as cold tonight, an overnight low of 47, and that 75 is probably catching your eye, but we're not, it's not going to be a great day to be outside. We'll have some showers in the morning and then a line of thunderstorms in the evening. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, they'll look good. Temperatures will be a little cooler over the weekend, but will be nice and dry. Our rain chances for today around 5 or 6, 7 o'clock. We have the potential for just a little bit of light patchy rain, nothing heavy. That could linger into the morning commute, and then a break with some warm and windy conditions. And then in the evening, we'll have our cold front come through that could bring us our first chance of thunderstorms this year. Dry over the weekend, and we're back to 70s again on Monday and Tuesday.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. We are staying on top of that breaking news out of Washington, D.C. You are looking live at the recovery efforts happening right now on the Potomac River after a mid-air collision between a passenger plane and an Army helicopter. In a briefing about 75 minutes ago, officials confirmed they do not believe there are any survivors. 64 people were on board that plane, 3 on the helicopter. So far, 28 bodies have been recovered. We know the victims include several members of the U.S. figure skating team. The plane was traveling from Wichita, Kansas.
2 champion Russian figure skater coaches on that plane as well, we're hearing. And we want to take you now to reaction from a man who lives near the airport and witnessed the plane crash. He says it was an ordinary night when he suddenly heard the impact.
PM, I hear 2 bombs. It's not like any bombs I've heard before, something I've never heard before in my life. And they were like seconds apart. Immediately, I looked up the window, and there were like some smokes.
The man says he saw the response to the Potomac River, which has been frozen since the Arctic blast earlier this month.
And North Carolina lawmakers are reacting to the mid-air collision in D.C. Congressman David Rouser posted on X, "My heart goes out to everyone affected and to the first responders. This is truly heartbreaking, praying for all involved." And Representative Pat Harrigan said his heart is with everyone impacted. He also said, quote, "We stand ready to support those in need during this heartbreaking time."
The White House has rescinded its freeze for aid programs that affect millions of Americans, but cuts will still be coming. Among them, President Trump has called for a ban on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in the federal government and supported by the government. People in our state who are fighting to solve the Black maternal and infant mortality crisis are speaking out about this. A health advocate tells WRAL federal funding helps keep mothers and their babies alive.
I don't know that anyone has really thought through the ripple effects of such an immediate action and how it impacts everyone, even our most vulnerable citizens who are those little babies in the NICU.
The state health department tells WRAL about $40 billion from their budget comes from the federal government. They were unable to give an exact number on how much of that money addresses health equity issues.
Well, people are sharing their concerns about plans to develop land at Lake Crabtree County Park into a hotel, restaurants, and bars. More than 100 people spoke at a public hearing during the RDU Airport Authority meeting last night. For years, RDU has leased the park land to Wake County for $1 a year, and now FAA rules require the airport to get fair market value for the property. That would mean redevelopment of 136 acres, including where the bike trails are now. People who use the trail say it's important that they stay.
The trend across the country is to build trail systems and not take them away.
Everything costs money now, so to have free outdoor recreation that's world class like that is really important, and it's fleeting.
Nothing has been decided yet. RDU says it's seeking proposals and would not build high-rise buildings, offices, or warehouses.
The Department of Forestry is investigating a fire that burned 100 acres in Franklin County. The call went out around 2:30 yesterday afternoon. When the Bunn Volunteer Fire Department arrived, they realized it was bigger than they expected, and the fire was growing fast. It took them nearly 2 hours to contain it. Franklin County deputies went door to door, alerting people just how fast the fire was spreading. And WRAL asked the county's director of emergency management what it took to bring the fire under control.
The issue was the wind. Every time the wind blew, a new hotspot would spark or ember would fall somewhere. So this was a very complicated fire. We had to call in North Carolina Forestry with their bulldozers to help set fire lines to try and prevent that fire from spreading even further.
Now, once the fire was contained, they let the remaining hotspots burn themselves out. Neighbors in that area were warned to be careful with the ground being so dry.
New treatment systems will help clear forever chemicals from drinking water here in North Carolina. Aqua cut the ribbon to the PFAS removal facility, which houses a new filtration system that pulls harmful chemicals out of the water. The water utility company has more than 200 contamination stations across the state, with many more sites planned in the next few years.
Again, about 180 sites in the next 2 to 3 years, $80 million. We're going to get it done, and we're going to get it done quick.
New rules from the Environmental Protection Agency will lower the amount of PFAS allowed in drinking water. The company hopes that federal funding will help speed up development at new locations around the state.
Former New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez is headed to a federal prison this summer. A New York judge has sentenced him to 11 years in prison for accepting bribes like gold and cash and acting as a foreign agent for Egypt. A jury convicted Menendez in last July, finding him guilty of selling his influence to Egypt's government and 3 New Jersey businessmen. Menendez's wife is also facing similar charges of bribery and corruption, but her trial is expected to begin in March.
Well, time to check your freezer. Some chicken nuggets sold at Wegmans are under a public health alert. This affects the 46-ounce bags of frozen, fully cooked breaded chicken nuggets. The Department of Agriculture said the nuggets may be contaminated with bone fragments. The product has a best if used by date of August 26, 2025. A recall was not issued because you can no longer buy the product. If you have these nuggets at home, just throw it away or return it to the store for a refund. There have been no confirmed reports of any injuries.
Union membership hit a new low last year. The Labor Department says more than 14 million Americans were in unions in 2024. It's about 9.9% of workers. The private sector lost about 184,000 members, while the public sector gained about 15,000 members. New York and Hawaii had the highest union membership rates. North and South Carolina and South Dakota had the lowest.
A celebration in Wake Forest this evening will honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The event starts at 6:30 at Friendship Chapel Baptist Church. Winners of a writing and art competition put on by the Wake Forest MLK Committee, they will be recognized at the ceremony. This is all open to the public and admission is free.
Before we go to break, we do want to make sure we bring you your winning lottery numbers just in case you missed them. And of course, we'll get more updates on that tragic plane helicopter crash in D.C. when we return here on WRAL News.